I'm good to go whenever you are. Yeah.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, this is Dr. Keith McNally, and this is the Question Guy podcast. I'm here with Emily Madge Payne, and of course, she is the illustrator for Inner Buddy. Now I do have my book, and I asked her to come back after I've read it. And so there's lots of things here that I'm really excited to talk about. And so before we do that, however, Emily, go ahead and give us a little bit more, again, some backstory about what Inner Buddy is and why you wrote it, and then I want to get into the book itself, if that's okay.
So Inner Buddy is all about connecting with your intuition and following your intuition and being guided by that and supporting children, yeah, with any worries or anxieties, I suppose, that kind of come up for them. And
Mhm.
it's a journey of, say, one child's story, but it's set where you've got your two main characters, which you've got Inner Buddy and you've got Bad Manners, and then you've got the child who's reading it. And when I wrote it, I purposely wrote it where you don't really kind of the child is there talking, but they're not. I've not really described the child in the book because the point of that is I wanted any child or any adult to be able to pick up the book as well and go like, oh, actually, this could be me, and they relate to that situation. So I wanted the reader to be kind of like the child, I suppose, which would be the third character in this. Um,
So are you expecting that child to be another character to kind of like immerse themselves into the story?
Essentially, yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah. So it'd be like the reader kind of becomes part of the story, and that's why, when you read it, there's no reference to, trying to
Anything.
think of the
Yeah.
right words. Yeah, like genders,
Right.
anything like that,
Gender,
anything that would
age, yeah,
age. Yeah,
nationality, culture, no reference.
yeah.
And that's good, and that's okay. So let's talk about the characters. And I'm going to, whenever we do something, I'm going to show the camera. So this is one of the main characters. This is, I think, the
So
protagonist. Who is this?
this is Inner Body. Their name is unique, and that is effectively the main character who's the intuition in the story. So they're the one that guides the child through the book and gives them techniques to deal with their bad manners, which I'm sure you'll show
Well,
in a
yeah, we're going to
minute.
show that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what is this? And who
Um,
is? And who, where did it come from?
So
What is that?
this is my Inner Body.
Okay.
So when I was putting the book together, my friend Jane Bell, actually, who you know, was like, "You need to put your Inner Body into like bring it to life."
Oh, so
So
she inspired that. Cool.
yes, yeah. So when I was talking to my illustrator Swampy, I was like, "All right, we need to do X, Y, and Z. I want the character to look like this." I refer to my Inner Body as a he because that's how I see him.
Okay.
I do have a lot of people ask me why do I refer to that. That's just how I refer to him. Um, so yeah, he is
Well, what is
a.
it? It's a thing? What is it?
It's
What
a
is
red.
he?
It's a red fox
It's a
with
red
a
fox.
rainbow tail.
Okay, great. So then let's go to the next and the main character,
This
right?
is yes, this is bad manners.
Okay.
So essentially, the he's your negative voice essentially. So your negative voice, which actually is just your voice that keeps you safe, but we always refer to that one that tells you you're not good or all of this because we refer to them as like our negative voice kind of thing. So that is bad manners, and
Okay.
he's a skunk, as you can
Okay.
see, because for me, skunks are very cute, but you get a bit too close to them, they might spray you. So
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. So that could ruin your
yeah,
whole day. And so
yes,
that makes a lot of sense. And from the characters, now there's lots of other, they're not the only, there's lots of other illustrations, and this is very much I'm trying to do my best with the camera. There's a whole lot of color. I want to say that at the very least. There's a whole lot of color and other illustrations. So there's, no lack of a visual appeal for the book. And so I love it. But
Thank
I
you.
want to go through pieces of it. So I'm going to show the contents. You've identified days. And so I'm trying to do my best with the camera. Contents. Now they're not days of the week. They're like, for example, day of change or day of first impressions or day of learning. So those are the first 3 days. Why? So what do you mean by what does that mean? What is a day and why are they days rather than just thoughts or feelings?
Because usually most people kind of measure their kind of um I suppose how what has happened to them, they measure it in a day.
Okay.
So they say
Like this is a
today
bad hair
this
day or
happened.
something like that.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
from being though. But I
You've
guess
got to get rid of it now.
people say, "Oh gosh, this was, a bad day. It's raining, it's snowing,
Yeah.
the tire got flat on my car." So whatever can happen, I think that makes. So what's a day of change?
So that's when you decide to make a decision and move forward in your life. Maybe you've been stuck a little bit with something and you that's when a decision is made in that day. So you decide to go, actually, do you know what today? I'm done with this. I'm gonna do something different because yeah, and that's the day that I changed my life. Because usually when people say to you, oh, they tell you this amazing story and then they go, but actually that was the day that changed my life when I went,
Mm.
actually, Joanna, I'm not going to put up with that anymore. Or actually I want to go this way because that's what makes me happy. So that's why they're days for, because yeah,
So
that's how people refer to them.
if you let me, I just want to read it because the day of change is rather straight to the point. So may I read?
Yeah, go for it.
And the day of change, and it reads like this. I don't know what to write. So apparently and I didn't get it before, but part of this is about writing down what you think and what you feel. And I want to talk about that in just a moment because I value that. I don't know what to write. I got told this would help. I feel a bit silly writing down my feelings. It's not going to change anything as I don't know what to, and it's all caps. I don't know what to
Yeah.
write. It just makes me feel angry. Why write something? Why are you asking kids to write or people to write?
Because it's a great way to express how you're feeling. Because when you write something down, I think a lot of the time we get told you need to talk about things, talk, talk, talk. And I think actually people who are dealing with anxiety or going through some kind of trauma, one of the main things they find so hard is to talk about it because it's just like this lock inside of them because they're worried they're going to be perceived in a certain way. So
Mm,
when I'm telling children to write things down, it's because when you write things down, that's a safe space for you because that's your bit of paper, that's your pen or pencil that you're using, and that's your thoughts coming out on the page.
mm,
And you consciously decide if you want to share that with someone and you consciously decide if actually, do you know what? I've written that down. I've got out my thoughts and feelings. I'm just going to burn this bit of paper. I'm going to rip it up or shred it, But you make that decision. And I feel like when you're writing things down, it just kind of, it's more kind of free flowing because when you're talking, if someone's not confident in talking to someone or they're a little bit shy or reserved, they won't say everything that they want to that's in the head. But when they're writing it down, knowing that this is just for me, they're
mm.
going to write more openly and they're going to get more out and they're going to be more honest and truthful with themselves. And once you start being truthful with yourself, you start to see the shadows in your life and you start to see the things that actually are kind of um, affecting you in a bad way, but actually seeing the challenges that you need to face to actually be able to change your life to make it better. And once you start being true with yourself and being authentic, that's when things can really change. And so writing things down is so powerful because it's your safe space.
Mm.
Um, and obviously, I mean, I think one thing that I've learned actually since writing in a buddy is that actually through my illustrator is that writing things down isn't always just one way to express yourself. You can do it in other ways as well. So he expresses himself through his drawing and his art. So if you're struggling with something and maybe you're not the best writer, you can always just sit, draw things out. Something that is personal to you that will help you to be able to express how you're feeling inside um, is going to help you and support you. I always say writing things down because you can see the words on the page, but something that you can make that comfortable kind of choice whether to share it. And I think that's the thing where you can kind of go, actually, Joanna, I'm not going to share this with someone. I just needed to write that out, but I don't need to share that with anyone else. And that's for me to either put in a drawer or get rid of, you know and that's going to make you feel a lot more safer in your safe kind of space.
Hmm.
Um, and then
Good.
when you do start to share, you'll be more open to having that conversation, and you'll know the people to share your thoughts and feelings with. The ones who raise you up and make you feel good in yourself, not the ones that go, oh, what have you put down here? Oh, why are you feeling like that? Blah, blah, blah. Not the ones that bring you down, the ones that raise you up, but people will know who they are in their lives. So
So in your book, so I'm going to help our watchers or listeners. So the day of change starts out very negatively. So this is all in black writing, and it represents the skunk. Skunk is all in black here. And then it transitions. So there's a slow transition. And the first transition is day of first impressions. And and I'm only just going to read this one page. I'm not going to read the whole book. So the day in first impressions reads like this. I'm trying this again. I just don't know. And there's double exclamation mark. So there's definitely some emotions here. How am I meant to write if I don't know who I am? That's a significant question. If I don't know what my worth is, well, that's a big fat zero. If I was worth anything, this awful stuff wouldn't keep happening. It's my fault. And it's right here, but then it transitions. And so this is what I talk about the transition. This is where your inner buddy comes in. And
yeah,
there's 3 lines at the bottom. And so they read, you are worth a lot, double exclamation, and you do know who you are. You just haven't discovered them yet. So they have this, so it's visual, it's color, and so you're helping somebody transition. And that's so how so the question then is, you said there was a day of change for you. What was that transition point for you? And what did it look like? And
in my life.
yeah, please.
Oh,
If you can. And you don't have to go into
yeah,
deep because we've already done some of the deep dive because you talked
yeah.
about your early, your younger life and into your teens, and it wasn't until 17 that you were actually diagnosed with anxiety. But you made a point. There was a pivot that said something's got to be different. What was that? What was that pivot?
I suppose in terms of that would have been probably when I saw the doctor, and
Okay.
that was my kind of like, well, actually, you're giving me two options, but there must be a third
Mm,
somewhere. And so I think that was obviously a change. If we were going to say from my writing, because my head's just kind of gone to that day where when I first started writing my first children's book, um, I just remember it so well. I'd I'd been diagnosed with ME earlier in the year. I'd had to give up my career of 10 years. I'd been working in the film industry as a camera assistant, and it was coming up to Christmas. Um, Obviously, with Emmy, I was weren't able to move. Well, you don't have very much energy. My body was in a lot of pain. I was in a bad way, trying to pay the bills. It was a bad time. And my sister had sent me a book in the post, and it was Susan Jeffers' Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And I just thought, do you know what? I just need to read it because I'd been seeing this book everywhere, and I was like, I just need to sit and read it. So I just sat and I started reading this book. I initially read it so I could do like the kind of base level stuff. I was meant to be going to the London dungeons. I'm not very good with scary stuff.
What? The dungeons? What?
It was meant to be a birthday treat for my my now husband, and I'm not great with that. So I kind of read it as in like a surface level thing to kind of go, I can go to these dungeons, feel the fear, do it anyway. This is going to help me get through that day. And actually, I sat and I read it, and it took me a couple of weeks to get through it, but it changed my life so much. But actually, just reading that first kind of page and just going, wow, okay, there is another option here. So it's like you're totally down in your luck, you're at the worst point, and then someone hands you a gift, and you go, that's when something changed
Mm,
because it's like actually drawn up, I can see another path. It was like someone had just opened a door for me.
great.
Um, and yeah, and actually, I did go to the London dungeons, not off the back of that book, but I did go to the London dungeons, and it actually went fine, which was really good.
Well, good.
Um, but it then, from reading that book, then gave me the confidence to start putting my first children's book together.
Oh, good.
And yeah, and that was the day that things changed for me. So
Well, and I appreciate that's a really good story. And I don't, we might have to have another conversation about the dungeons, but that's going to be far off from now.
yeah,
Um, the other part of the book, so the characters are, there's three significant parts of the book. And so there are characters, there's the day ofs, and so there's significant starting and then transition points. And the whole book is about these two characters. So it's Inner Buddy and Bad Manners. They're you would almost say that they're kind of, bickering at each other throughout the book, and
yeah.
one's trying to get the better of the other. But then you transition, and there's another transition, and it's called the Gratitude Journal. And so I'm going to share that too. It's called the Gratitude, and I was trying to get I don't think I'm getting the picture right. Gratitude Journal. And so that's the other part of it. You actually do want the reader to pick up pen and paper or to
Mhm.
draw or to do something specifically about gratitude. And that's the other significant. What is that? What is gratitude, and why is that important for the book and for you and for the reader?
It's so gratitude is about being grateful for what you have and what you have in this present moment. And it's the most smallest thing, but it's the most easiest thing to do to start kind of bringing yourself into. Everyone talks about vibrations and energy, but bringing yourself into a higher vibration kind of. Um, I suppose another way to put it, a lot of people say filling up your cup.
Okay.
So it's about kind of seeing the good things in life. So when someone says to you, "Oh, that was a bad situation, but what was the good thing that came out of it?" Essentially, that's kind of trying to say to you, what are you grateful for from
Oh.
that. So obviously, with me, I was grateful for my sister for sending me this book,
And
which
did you write
then
that down as your first gratitude?
I did actually,
You
yeah.
did, yeah. And that's
But
exactly what it says.
yeah,
It says, I am grateful for, and then you fill in the rest of the line. And so, and they continue. So do you want, or is it the purpose for somebody to, write down 3 or 4 gratitudes per day or per week, or what's the most beneficial way of approaching gratitude?
I've tried a lot of different ways.
Okay.
And I've actually found doing the gratitude journal is the most, but you have to do it at night before you go to bed. Because before you go to bed, I think we discussed this in the last one. Before you go to bed, whatever you're watching 10 minutes before you go to sleep is what your
Going to
subconscious
dream
mind's
about,
going to
yeah.
put. Yeah. So if you're writing down things that you're grateful for, you're going to dream about all of the good things that have been in your life, and then that's going to wake you up in the morning feeling refreshed. And usually I say 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for, but they can't be the same thing every single day. But it's basically about reflecting on that day and
Hmm.
going, do you know what? I'm grateful that I found a pen that I could write with because I was able to sign something. I'm grateful that I found that penny on the floor because it made my money up to £1 and I was able to buy a coffee, that kind of thing. You know, um, it's so it's about making the things that you're grateful for specific to that day. And then you will actually, when you read back through what you've written, say over a month or a week, I mean, you only have to do gratitude for a week to really start seeing the difference. So if you're in a bit of a slump, just do your gratitude journal, 3 to 5 things each night before you go to bed. And within that week, you'll start to see things changing. I remember when I did it, and I was like, wow. I would walk past someone and smile at them in the street. And normally I'd get someone just go like, why is she smiling at me? I was getting people smiling back at me. I was just having people opening doors for me, people being so polite. And I was actually, because I was being grateful for what I had, I was seeing the other good things that are in the world. And actually, because I was seeing that, a lot of the negative stuff kind of started to fall away.
Wow.
And gratitude is the foundation to build anything on. And I know when I'm having a really tough time, I know that I can literally, whatever is happening in my life, I can just sit with myself, be grateful for what I have in my life in that moment, and know that actually, do you know what? I can deal with whatever is in front of me because you know what? I've got everything that I need around me. I just need to see that. And being grateful will actually help to amplify your inner voice. So to be more intuitive in yourself, which is obviously what inner body is inner body is your intuition. To be able to hear your intuition more, being grateful can really amplify that because you're going to run up. I'm grateful that, yeah, I've got a cup of tea, or I'm grateful that I can go to the shops and buy things.
Hmm.
Um, and it's, yeah, and that will help. So if you're struggling and you're feeling a little bit down with anything, do the gratitudes. But I mean, I've tried different ways, but writing journals is probably the best way. I also do it where I think someone probably thought it was a bit crazy, but I was having a really bad day. I was walking through a shopping centre and I was just under my breath. I was just like, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. And even and I was doing it because I was feeling really stressed, and I just thought, if I'm going to be able to, like a 3-year-old with a brand new toy, break this is going to be the moment because I'm really angry right now. And do you know what? I probably got up to the 20th thing that I'd said to myself under my breath that I was grateful for. I just laughed, and the person walking past me was like, "What on earth is she doing? She's just randomly laughing." But it just broke everything, and I just stopped feeling angry in that moment, and it was just such a release and so calming. But yeah, so gratitude is the key to a lot of things.
And that's good. And so this is a book really focused on young people, but it needs company. It needs company for people who are maybe in their tweens and teens and young adults. What's the I know I asked you this before, but is there a project in the works?
There is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've actually been kind of working more of an adult project around inner body, which is more in depth with the same. It's basically inner body, but a bit more in depth, talking to you a bit more about the techniques, a bit more kind of adultified. But I did realize that I am missing an area, like you said there, the tweens. So I do need to sit down and write that one. But yeah, there are different things in the works at the moment for what could come next. Yeah, because a lot of people are asking me for it, and I was like, oh my God.
Well, we're on the show, so I'm putting you to the test now. Anyway, and so that's good to know. And so 2023, we should see some new projects come from your writing.
I would like to think so, yeah. I've just finishing up my first novel, which was actually yeah, just kind of came out of the blue. It was a story that I just decided to write. It's about resilience and courage. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that one out to people. And then it's sitting down. I've just actually just found out today that I did a world record back in November to sign 7,000 of my books. And to break the record, I needed 7,000 people to turn up. But as you may have seen on Twitter, there was a young girl talking about how only a couple of people showed up for hers. I got 7 people, which I beat most of the celebs that commented on her post. So I was like, actually, I don't feel too bad. But um, actually, in that world record, it really did push me because I was like, do you know what? I'm not getting the 7,000, and this really pushed me. And actually, the leaves on the stream technique that's in a buddy, I used to get me over a massive hump on that day. And I was able to then go on, sign all 7,000 books. And then I've been able to donate 1,000 to schools. And then I've just found out another 4,000 have gone out to children who've um, who've been dealing with domestic violence or abuse in their lives. And I'm obviously speaking to another lady who works around grief with children. And yeah, so it's lots of things happening. But yes,
So who's working with on grief? What?
so the lady you put me in touch with,
Okay.
yes,
Okay. Deborah Brown.
yes, yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to speak to her in the new year, bless her.
That's not good.
So that'll be good. But yeah, it's all about kind of reaching the kids that really need that support right now. So I'm pleased to be able to help in some way. And it just I said to Jane Bell, who was there actually on the day of the world record attempt, I said I probably could have signed another 3,000. Um, so
Well,
yeah.
let's do another world record in 2023. Emily, thank you so much for joining me on another edition of the Question Guy podcast. I wish you all the best. And when all your other books come out, we've got to talk. I got to read them and we got to talk about them. So thank you so much. And for those of
Thank
you,
you.
so those of you who are watching, listening, thank you so much and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.